Okay, all set, Ed.
All right. So welcome everybody, and I'll turn it over to you, Ken, if you want to lead us through the documents.
Sure. So good evening, everyone. Thanks for meeting tonight. It's been, when was the last time we met? A while. We were supposed to meet, I think, on the 16th. So now we are here. We have, what you have before you should be at least 9 sections. With that said, also, we will be putting together the references, which are the references that are drawn. That'll be in a next review, as well as anything that we talk about today or any forthcoming changes. Some big components have been now completed, and hopefully you have been able to look at the draft. So on the 14th, I sent off all the sections, and since then, Eric and I changed some stuff in sections 3, 4, 5, and 7, which I sent out Tuesday to the whoever was on the list. So those are the updated documents regarding those sections. Yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't know if it's time efficient to go over each section, or if there may have been things that I can open on my end and revise this way. But we can start that conversation now if you want.
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
I can start with some questions if that's
Sure.
okay.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at my email, and I hate to tell you, but I didn't get an email from you on the 14th. I only got the updated sections. So those are the ones I reviewed. I don't know why.
So I don't know if, because I sent it to Ed on the 14th. I don't know if he sent those out or if it was.
I did, but a lot of my emails happen to go to Cindy's spam.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
okay.
But I got to tell you, I've been checking it pretty regularly, and I didn't see it, Ed. I've been looking, quite frequently, and I didn't see anything. So I don't know if you can resend that to me from the 14th, because I don't see that one at all.
yeah, I can.
Thanks. But I do have a couple questions about the sections that I just completed the review on. And
Wait, before you start, Cindy, is there someone named Charlie that should be joining us? Charlie's iPad?
Charlie McDonald.
Probably McDonald, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I just I don't want to get Zoom bombed. So I'm going to be asking you as people. I'm going to let him in.
Okay, why am I having trouble here?
So is this Charlie's iPad?
It's Charlie's iPad, but it's Paula Mac.
Okay.
I could not hear through my cell phone.
Okay.
And so I picked up his iPad.
Okay.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No worries. Thanks, Paula. Okay, Cindy.
okay, so in section 3, hold on. I'm opening it right now.
I'm going to open it on the screen here.
Okay. It's really the very first second paragraph. Actually, the first paragraph. The last sentence. Traditionally a farming community, Southampton is a rural residential suburb in the northern Springfield Metropolitan District. I don't know about calling us a suburb. That's you're scrolling down. It's way up at the top, Ken.
Oh, it's on the top? Okay.
It's at the very first paragraph. And I don't know what everybody else thinks. I wonder how you came up with that wording. And, Springfield isn't even in our county. So
it's not in the county, but per the census, you fall under the Springfield MSA. Suburb, you don't need to use that word. We can just say is a rural residential community in the northern Springfield Metropolitan District.
So I don't know what everybody else on the committee thinks. I don't know, the suburb just, suburbs, I think of like Long Meadow and East Long Meadow and those as sort of suburban type communities. I don't know what everybody else thinks.
So what
I
do you
never
think
really
this
considered
is?
South.
What do you think
What did you say, Ed?
Southampton is?
I didn't hear that, Ed.
So what do you think Southampton is then, if it isn't a suburb?
It's a rural residential community. What do you think?
I agree. Janet, what are we a suburb to, of?
I mean, it's whatever, however you guys want to define yourself. Community, I think, is good. Obviously, you are rural and residential. And I guess to the other point that Cindy brought up, you are considered part of the Springfield Metropolitan District for the purposes of the census. So.
If everybody else is okay, I kind of like rural residential community.
I agree.
Fine with
I
me.
never really considered Southampton to be a suburb, frankly. Because I usually consider a suburb to be a suburb of a larger community, and I never really considered Southampton to be a suburb of a larger community, even if it fits the definition with the census.
And maybe even contiguous to Springfield. What is Westhampton considered, or Easthampton? Are they considered residential suburbs of Springfield?
Possibly. I mean, it really is whatever the community, I think if you were to talk to someone in Springfield and they would list the names of the suburbs, Easthampton may be on that list. Southampton, again, I think community is fine. Suburb is probably a planning lingo term that doesn't need to be used here.
Okay, sounds like the consensus is community for the word versus suburb.
Yep.
If that's okay. Then I think in section 4, under water resources.
Okay, let me just open that file.
Section C?
Correct, section C.
Okay.
So I read this 3 or 4 different times, and we know we're rich with water resources, and we've got, we're in the best of watershed areas. The sad part of that is we don't have access to that water. And am I missing something there? I just feel that if I was to read this and I didn't know as much as I do about Southampton as I'm learning it, I would think, whoa, they don't have any water issues at all. But we do have water issues in our town. Is there, this again is open for discussion with the entire committee, but I think there should be some reflection in this document that even though there's a lot of water out in our community, it's not available to us.
What would you suggest as far as how to address that? How do you?
How about if considering the second paragraph here, we're within 2 of the state's major watersheds. Southampton is rich with water resources. Most of the town lies in the Connecticut River watershed, while a portion of the southeast corner lies within the Westfield River watershed. And then the next sentence says, the Ty-Carmody Reservoir, White Reservoir, and Manhan are the town's major. Well, they're not. Ty-Carmody is not one of our major resources.
Okay.
We have no access. Am I right, Ed, on this 100%? I want to be sure I'm not saying the wrong thing here. We have
Yeah,
no,
you're absolutely right. It's the Glendale well and back up Easthampton.
Well, we could use the Ty-Carmody, However, we would definitely have to build a treatment plant if we had to use it. So we'd have to invest probably somewhere around 12 or $15 million to access that water resource.
So basically, this sentence is not correct because we don't have it as a resource. There is a barrier to getting it as a resource.
But we also mentioned that the Mannan River is a resource. We're not going to drink the water out of there, but it still, contributes to our groundwater, and it's still a resource for wildlife. So is that why it's in there like that?
Probably. I mean, I think that, you don't necessarily have to read into this sentence that those are water resources that you would be using for consumption. I think to your point, Brittany, where wildlife lives, where, other types of things live. So, we could definitely rework the sentence to make it reflect, where you get your drinking water, and, how to address the Manhan River for
Well, how about in that second paragraph where it says situated within 2 of the state's major watersheds, Southampton is rich with water resources, and then inserting a sentence that says, however, drinking water resources that we have access to are very limited, or something along that line.
Well, we have private wells, but as far as the town water, that's what's limited.
Right.
Public, yeah, that's right.
Okay. Okay. And then address these other resources here.
So that our water quality section does have the stuff about our drinking water, which is like way farther down in that chapter. It's on like the 22nd page. So I don't know if that's okay to be redundant, just so it's clearer.
Yeah, because we do address, yeah.
Put a little reference in that, please see drinking water reference page or section, whatever.
Okay. I'll just put a comment here.
That's good, Brittany, thanks.
Okay.
And
It's probably still appropriate to have it up there too, though, now that I'm reading that other section, because that really does address the threats to it, but doesn't necessarily name all of our drinking sources.
right. Do you think that, I don't know if it falls under the concept of threat, but the fact that an entire different municipality draws from the Ty-Carmody Reservoir doesn't, without building a brand new treatment plant and getting permission, I think, from the Holyoke Waterworks, we don't have any access to the Ty-Carmody Reservoir. So it just strikes me as misrepresenting what our resources really are. I'm sorry, I don't have specific wording to suggest for this, Ken, but.
I can think of something as far as, because, as Rini described it, it's Easthampton's, correct?
No, it's Holyoke.
Holyoke.
Okay.
Ken, what I was saying is that Glendale well is the primary source, and then backup is Easthampton.
Okay.
And am I right, if it's, when we use Easthampton, we have to pay for it?
Well, we pay Easthampton for it.
Yeah,
Yes.
we pay Easthampton for it, correct?
Versus when we manufacture or draw our own, the costs are associated with drawing it rather than a direct cost of paying for it to
Okay.
somebody.
I see, okay.
Okay.
But it's intertwined with the other sorts of threats, which include development, and should there be, a significant amount of additional residential development, then we're going to have to spend more money to draw from Easthampton or another community, because that's where the challenge lies, right there.
Or develop another well, or look at developing the treatment plant and tapping into Harmony.
Okay, yeah, so there's other costs.
There are options, they all have costs.
Yep.
And some of them are outlined on the page 23, saying that we lack a large source of water for the town.
Okay, great. And the next thing is something that just came up. Is there a way that we can put page numbers on this? Maybe not yet because it's still in draft form, but when it's a final document, can this document be paged?
Yeah, I have a page in the footer. It'll be nicer when it's formatted into a booklet.
Okay.
But
all right.
yeah, I do have all of our sections are now paged with section dash page number, and the table of contents will reflect that.
Okay, super. Okay, and then my other one is section 5.
Was there any other comments regarding this section or section 3?
I found a typo in section 4. I don't know if you care. Okay. I'm just on page 21.
Okay.
Under environmental access, the 3rd paragraph, 2nd line, you're just missing a word. So resources through grant applications that available with viable open space.
Oh, okay.
Plan. Yep.
We still don't know whether they're kids that are playing. They know our thing that state back campus. About half of people on campus inside.
You said page 21?
Oh, it looks like the pages are different on mine. Sorry. Okay, so look for the environmental access section.
Environmental. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. One.
Was acquired by through. Can you repeat that sentence one more time, Brittany?
It's the 3rd paragraph. So one more down. Yep. And then the 2nd line. Through grant applications that available. Yep. There you go.
Okay. So let me open section 5. Okay.
And specifically section 7 in 5.
Page 7?
It's the one about the town-owned resources, town-owned parcels, I mean. I think it's 7. This is the CR. I think it's a little bit further down.
I'm carrying about 10
I'm sorry, I don't have a page for it. Keep going down.
5.7.
Okay.
Table 5.7. Okay.
5.7, correct. I'm sorry. Yeah, all right. So there's at least one more town-owned parcel.
Okay.
It's kind of newly discovered, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to research a little bit to get it for you. Maybe Brittany remembers it. It was a parcel of just 1 or 2 acres under Alder Pond, which now is not wet. Do you remember that, Brittany? That came up in the Conservation Commission? You don't?
No. When did that happen?
We're not really sure, but there is apparently an acre or 2 that was under the pond, and I'll just have to find out about it. Marla let us know about it. So I'm going to tell you, Ken, it's probably not a super significant one, but it is a tiny parcel that apparently was given to or bought by the town
That's okay. I mean, I think, so,
a long time ago.
yeah, at the last meeting, we addressed the fact that on your Conservation Commission webpage, you have a listing of conservation areas that were not included in the state's data layer. So
Okay.
we addressed that through this particular section, which is on page 516, which is in addition to the parcels listed above, which were all described in that chart that we were looking at prior. I just suggested this sentence: the conservation has identified several other conservation areas that are not currently included in the records provided to the state for inclusion into the MassGIS data layer. The town will work to update the state's list.
Okay, yeah.
So if we can find out information that is similar to the data that's presented here, Cindy, like location, owner, manager, and acreage, I think that would be helpful, even if it
Okay.
is 2 acres.
Okay. So what do I do? If I find something, or if Marla knows of something, I feel like sharing with Marla too. She's our Conservation Commission chairperson. What should we do? Just give it to you to?
Yeah, I think that's fine. We can just include it. So just a comment about what we're going to be putting into the appendix. If you look in this document, Eric has started and he's going to complete this table,
Okay.
which basically is all the above tables aggregated into this one table that will go into the appendix. And it provides similar information with some additional information like zoning, and then that other information. So that'll be in the appendix. But what you see on pages 1 through 17 are basically the section 5.
Okay. Am I right? And this is a question to everybody. There is no other good documentation of these kinds of lands, whether they're under CR or APR or town-owned lands, et cetera. This is the document where we need to get it as right as we can. Because I don't know of another one. So we got to get it right. That's my thought.
Yeah, because the thing is, this is backed up by data from the state. So anything that the town would submit to the state with assessor's records would eventually be included in a future OSRP. Any newly acquired lands that that the assessor would be filing with the state would be in a future document, and it would show up here.
Okay.
So that's just a general comment. Was there any other comments to this section?
Section B, right above table 5.7.
Okay.
It's just the wrong it's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ah, and it's even has a blue line under it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Any other, did you want to review any other sections here?
Those are the only ones I looked at. Maybe other
Okay.
people saw the other ones.
Yeah, I have questions about 8 and 9. Were those supposed to be updated? Like, is that the final version?
No, these
Okay.
were, yeah, so for what we were gonna do at the last meeting was just to basically summarize the work that had been completed in that spreadsheet that was shared with you all. So I compiled that into this form where we're obviously listing the goals, the objectives, and the strategies. And those were all listed on that spreadsheet. Since we've been meeting, there were some additional strategies identified and goals. of which particularly goal 5, which is a whole new goal. And so the red reflects documentation that I found via notes that Emily had from the meeting, from the community visioning meeting, the December meeting. There was a document that summarized, I guess, the happenings of that meeting. So I found basically under that goal, these new strategies to suggest on how to accomplish, goal 5, which this makes sense based on recreational facilities. So yeah, that's new. Anywhere that says new or revised comes from the conversations we've had with this group. So I guess, the extension of this is the next document, which is the next section, which is section 9, which now identifies the authorities and some funding mechanisms as well as timeline. And so, I don't know, Brittany, do you have a comment about this section?
No, just that it's
Okay.
not reflected in 9. It
Okay.
just didn't look like it was updated.
Yeah. So I'm going to go to section 9 just to.
And before I forget, after you
Yeah.
do 9, can we go back to 5?
Yep. Okay. So this document basically lays out what your plan is, right? So I've put down the goals, put it into a matrix, listed the objectives, numbered the strategies based on the section 8, identified within the spreadsheet those responsible parties. I know that there was some discussion about this newly formed open space committee. So I included that where, that was discussed. I think the biggest question to complete this is target dates and timelines. As you can tell, there's nothing there. So the 2012 OSRP identified timelines, and they were general enough where it just said 1 to 2 years, medium time frame within 5 years. So I don't know if it's worthwhile to attach those values here and then talk about section or the 5th goal and talk about how to address those timelines there. I don't know if anyone has any comment regarding that, or if you want to go down a list and, identify new timelines.
I'm sorry, back to section 8, which informs this, is that goal 3, objective 1, and then S8, it's the Bay Pack, which doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, did I not? Okay.
Right.
So on section 8.
It's goal 3, objective 1.
Okay. So that doesn't exist anymore.
Well,
Wow.
the aquifer exists.
No, Bay Pack, the
APAC doesn't.
section, right.
So did I have a strategy here that suggested that?
Where's the BayPAC part?
Oh, of course, I scrolled away from it. It's section 8. Or strategy 8, sorry. Goal
Strategy
3,
8.
objective 1, strategy 8.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we participated, but it disbanded.
Is there a suggestion that it be reconvened or no?
There has been.
Yeah.
I mean, is it worthwhile to keep that in there to suggest that you re-explore it, or?
Or do you put a note on it that his no longer or it's expired or whatever, and put a note there that
Explore.
it's something that we would like to pursue, either re-energizing or new similar
Yeah,
group.
Okay.
that's good.
I'm working on my laptop today, so
Hmm.
it's harder for me.
Excuses, Ken.
Comments, let's see. Reconsider, reevaluate, explore. I'm going to use those as words to possibly use. Okay, thanks for catching that. I think it still existed on there because, you know, it was a conversation whether or not you should reconvene it, which makes sense. And I think changing the language would suggest that you're exploring that option. This reflects that you're already participating in, which is not the case.
Are we still talking about section 8?
Section 8, goal 3, objective 1, strategy 8, correct?
Okay. Can I say?
Yeah.
I say, okay, the goal 501 S1, you use CPA funds for a new roof at Corner Park. That was done last year
Okay.
by the Lions Club and CPA.
So I can remove that.
The Corner Park.
Can I put,
Well, Corner Park Pavilion, and I don't know about the trail maintenance, but they did do a new pavilion roof.
okay.
Isn't the trail maintenance on the current warrant that's coming before 8
Yep.
PM right now?
Well, but it shouldn't include the pavilion roof.
That's correct. That should go off, yeah.
Yeah. And also, I don't see anything on here about, or maybe I missed it, the Greenway. I think we're just kind of letting it fall by the wayside, and I think it's so important that we pursue the Greenway.
Actually, we just got some additional funding for that.
Great. But do we have,
Yeah.
are people really working on it now? I know,
Well, this is like within the last week or two. We just found out from Senator Bielis that additional transportation money was secured. I think it's 300 and something. How much was it, Ed?
No, 780,000.
Okay, 780,000. Yeah.
Well, number one, that's not funding. That just means it's sitting in a bond bill someplace that the governor would have to energize. And the other thing about that whole piece, and Rini, you'll remember it because I sent you the email because I had all the 2 hours to put it together, is while that bill says we got $870,000 for to use for the Greenway, I didn't ask for $870,000 for the Greenway. I asked for $370,000 for the Greenway, and then a second project of $500,000 for the design work for redoing East Street. So I can't wait to actually see the actual wording that's in that bond bill.
I knew I came up with 300 something thousand somewhere.
Yeah, well, the request that I sent to his aide was for $370 for the Greenway, which would cover the acquisition cost. And then project 2 was $500,000 for design work on East Street. And somehow it turned into $870,000 for the Greenway, but I can't wait to see if that says for design work or what.
well, is there
Yeah.
an active committee now for the Greenway? So I know Micah Bueller has stepped down after all the wonderful work that he did.
Yeah, Paul Fergal is the chair of the Greenway Committee now.
Is he doing anything? Is it active?
It's active. We're just basically at a standstill of trying to find funding to procure the right of way.
Mhm. And my other thing in this section here is when 111 Glendale or Clearwater. That's 85 plus acres just sitting there. And I don't think we talk about what we might be able to use that area for. So many things we could use that piece of property for, I would think.
Wait. Where are you now, Janet? I don't know where you
Down
are.
in the strategies where the new stuff. Are we talking at all about Clearwater or Glendale for doing something with all those acres of land? Put it at,
You mean in terms of maintenance and bridges and things like that?
or activities, or someone talked about making a trail all the way around the outside for running. Other exercises or community gardens or something. That's a lot of land just to be sitting
Yeah.
nothing. And I think we should be a little more proactive on that piece of property.
Well, it's already got one new trail on it. It does need bridges. It does need some work, and I know Conservation Commission is well aware of that.
Yeah. All right. And the other thing is the Manhan. Is any work being done on the storm damage?
Well, there's two articles right now for the warrant for the town meeting. One of them is to repair from the microburst, and the other one is significant. It's a grant matching, and it's significant work on the trail, including the bridge and all kinds of work on it.
Okay, because I know a resident in town who offered to do the work for free. And I don't know if that was pursued.
Does the Conservation Commission know that?
Yep.
Yes?
Yes.
Well, okay, this is the first I've heard of it, so I'm not liaison at Conservation. I'm just kind of surprised.
I'll ask Marla again.
Okay.
I contacted him because the last time I heard she had not contacted him, and he has done that kind of work before, and he came to me to find out who he would talk to, and he said he would do the work for free. So let me call Marla and see if she's gotten in touch with him.
Janet, was it the major tree work that needs to be done, or was it the bridges or the trails, or what was it?
Brittany, I haven't done there myself, but I understand there was major damage with trees.
So he was willing to do the tree work?
Yeah, remove the trees and things.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. So let me,
Okay, because right now there's an article for the town warrant that's using CPC funds
Right.
to fix the microburst damage.
let me call Marla and see if she ever got on his part.
So can I ask the person who has the extra sound to mute themselves?
Don't know who that is.
Not me, I don't have a little one.
Okay, seem to have quieted down. So Janet, were there any suggestions within the strategies above with regards to the Greenway that you didn't think covered that?
No, I just think we need a little more proactive people
Okay.
working on it. And I know a couple of people who said they would love to work on it, volunteer
Okay.
for it. And I don't know, I haven't heard anything. And since Michael Bueller stepped down, I haven't seen much activity at all.
Okay. All right, so then, you know, with us changing that item here with
The very
regards
first
to-
one, taking out the pavilion.
Yes, the pavilion. Now this suggests you use CPA funds for trail maintenance.
Okay.
So it's there. And so now I will, based on the changes here, now reflect or have that reflected on section 9.
Ken, before you go on, can I ask you a
Yeah.
question?
Sure.
So with the goals that were written in the previous plan, the good news is, you know, we've made some progress in some of the things with the roof and hopefully the trails and all that. Do you keep that on there, to acknowledge what was done, or do you take it off because it's no longer a goal, like with the roof?
What I can do is if there are goals within this that have been accomplished, and I know we identified new strategies or updated strategies, I can put something at the bottom of this that reflects what you have accomplished since.
I think that's important because I think otherwise, you have it listed and then,
It's different the next time.
7
Yeah.
years later, it's just not there anymore. And it's
Okay.
nice to acknowledge that some things actually do get done.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's great, Rini. Yeah.
And the other thing is, since Paula Mack has joined us from the Park Commission for tonight's meeting, and hopefully we'll see her again, I'd just like to have Ken go over anything that might fall under Park Committee goals, strategies, what have you, and get Paula's feelings on those.
Paula's muted.
No, can you hear me?
Yeah, she's on. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm listening.
So Paula, the parks section is a new goal that was identified by the working group, the community visioning, the community survey that was done last year. Let me open that one more time. And so I don't know if within your plan, your meetings with your committee that you've addressed or maybe have looked at what was identified as the new goal and suggested strategies and objectives. So this goal 5 is new to the plan. So I don't know if you had any comment regarding that or if the committee had any comment.
We did look over the papers that we had received, and bottom line, we came to the thought that we don't have any funds. So to come up with ideas of, how to change facilities for recreation for the people of Southampton, we really couldn't come up with any ideas because we had no way to pay for them anyway.
Okay.
Well, let me turn that around on you, because a lot of times what will happen is when certain grants come up or what have you, they come up quick and they're looking for ideas, or the town may be looking for ideas that fit that. And if you have what you want to accomplish in a plan like this, you can reference it and say, hey, here's some ideas and some goals. They might have been limited as due to money, but here's a grant application and they fit. So let's go do it.
Well, I don't think we realized that that was how they work. So we certainly can revisit that. I know a lot of people have some interest in having pickleball courts put in, more than just the 2 we're working on right now. And people have asked about doing some sort of a skateboard park or an area of the park where they could put a skateboard kind of facility in. And of course, we always need money to finish off the next phase at LaBrie Field. So
there you go. You just came up with something.
We can come up with a list really easily. So I guess
what was the work for LaBrie Field? You were saying that. What did you say?
It's the next phase is to put in a pavilion, sort of, not really a pavilion because it'll be enclosed, and have a snack shack in there and a place to store the equipment and bathrooms and an outdoor concrete area where people could sit in the shade and watch a ball game. That's all written up. We have all the plans to do it.
That's
just no money.
Yeah, the next phase is the field house with the snack shack ability and the bathrooms.
Correct.
There was some parking lot improvements because I think there was a split rail fence. There was a playground area.
We're also talking about the idea of possibly putting in a well at some point so we can use our irrigation system when it's dry out like now.
Right.
What happened to the CPA funds that were for the bathroom that we voted on last town meeting?
When they went out to bid, they were about $115,000 short of what the cost came back at.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
It's okay.
You keep at it, right?
Well,
that's the
yeah, they've been
mantra.
looking at ways to, scale it back or do it differently or whatever what they might be able to do with the funding they have.
Composting toilets. They're
Yeah. Actually, somebody even mentioned those, so it's
they're right there.
definitely on the list.
Good.
So the next review you'll do is we'll include some language with regards to some facility improvements, particularly Labrie Field, and probably call that out as a separate strategy. Let's see.
That, and they're still looking for some improvements at Conan Park also.
Okay.
Can I just say something about the line G502, expand recreational opportunities for seniors and differentially abled person? Can it just say expand recreational opportunities for all? What's a differentially abled person?
It's differently
Differently.
abled.
Differently abled. What is that?
Well, I think there was maybe some suggestion that additional programming for seniors and
Differently abled.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, can we just say for all? I don't know. I don't think I would want to be called a differently abled person.
I think they're two different things, seniors and then differently abled, and it's kind of the politically correct way of saying disabled. We don't say that any longer. We say differently abled. So it might be something that could be accessible for someone who's got vision impairments or who has
I understand what,
or wheelchair accessible. I think that's what that means. They're not the same. It's seniors and differently abled are two different categories.
Correct.
okay.
So there are seniors who are absolutely not differently abled. they're fully, they have all the ability that somebody who's 25 is, and then there's 25-year-olds that need wheelchairs.
I
So
understand, but I was just saying, could it say expand recreational opportunities for all?
well,
But I think they're actually trying to pinpoint and
The
concentrate on a certain area.
the older population, maybe?
it's meant to say something that specifically is designed around people who would have a need to have it a little different than the ordinary population. It isn't for all. It could be used by all, but it's meant to be accessible. That's,
I guess I just offended by that term, differently abled person.
So apparently either that or people with disabilities is also acceptable, and this is on the NDA site.
Okay.
Do you want to use that term? People with disabilities?
I'm stuck. I don't know. Isn't differently abled? What's more politically correct right now? I don't know.
I kind of like the differently abled, but that's me.
Yeah, I kind of like people with disabilities because it puts the person first and it doesn't just refer to, the function. But I think either one is fine.
You could say for seniors and people who are differently abled. Don't know.
Well, that's just semantics. Just leave it as it is.
Yeah, so if you guys want to change it later, we maybe just wallow in it for one more review period.
Yeah. No big deal.
So with that said, as I mentioned, section 9 is an expanded version of section 8, which now calls on let's open that, calls on the various authorities or the parties that would be responsible for helping accomplish those objectives and strategies, as well as the resources needed. And then we still have target date for completion.
So,
That, go ahead.
sorry, I'm sorry, I did not see this in draft form prior to now. Number one, G101, the Open Space Committee is not really going to be taking over management of town-owned open spaces and lands. That's good deals falling under Conservation Commission.
Okay.
Um,
Do you want to include Open Space Committee just as someone that would assist the Conservation Commission?
I'm in favor with that because
Okay.
our charge is to work cooperatively with all other,
Yeah.
commissions and committees. So sure. And there, as you know, is the beginning of a new organization called Friends of Open Space, and they might contribute, but I don't think we should make them the responsible party. They fall under the volunteer time.
So it seems that maybe some of the committee members didn't have a chance to look at this extended portion, which is the responsible parties and the resources. So maybe for the next time we meet, and while you're reviewing it, identify if there's any inconsistencies here, or if you have any comments with regards to the responsible authorities. Again, this came from that worksheet that was provided that had semi been filled out. Some of it comes from the last update. And my comment earlier regarding the time frame, which is this last column, I guess if the committee wants to take time to identify that, or if while you're reviewing it for the next meeting, I just identify what was presented in the last plan and put that there, and then go over our goal 5, and then identify the new timeframes for those. Because anything that's new needs, to be addressed. You have an updated plan that you can rely on for some of these other items, which may now seem like all of them are priorities, right? Because you hadn't had time to work on them, or for whatever reason within the past 7 years, nothing, or there was some movement, but do you anticipate that it could be accomplished within a certain time frame? And we can refine those. So yeah, this is basically the last component of the plan with regards to identifying the goals and strategies and identifying how you would accomplish those things. And it was, my comment is that if the committee wants to, take another 2-week period to review this, we can do that. And then in the meantime, if you have comments, definitely share them. I think what I'm going to do to refine this, other than make sure section 8 that we changed now is reflected on here, is just include the previously identified timeframes for the existing strategies that have been consistent. And then offer and then see where the town is with regards to section 9, or sorry, goal 5, which is on the last page.
What would be really helpful is to know which of these strategies have to go to town meeting in order for them to happen. Okay. Because that's going to definitely change the time frame on some of them.
So maybe some of these, and I'll, going through them, obviously there are some that anything that's regarding regulation changes, bylaw changes, maybe at least preemptively identify those. And I'll just mark it in red, and you'll see what, I suggested as something that probably would go to town meeting. And, in your review of the next iteration of this, if there are others that need to be identified with town meeting, identify those too. That's a good idea.
That's great, yeah. So I don't know, Ed, are you going to resend me the sections that I somehow didn't see, or can I come directly from Ken, maybe, the drafts?
I'll resend them.
You want to text me when you send them so I can look and make sure I get them?
Sure.
Sorry.
And then when Ken sends me these updated ones and I send them out, I'll text you on that too.
Okay. Can't fix that problem.
So this is it in regards to the plan, obviously. So the next iteration will be basically the complete plan. It will include the references and the appendix items that will be included in here, which will include some items from the, it'll include the survey and some of the responses and the survey data, as well as some meeting agendas, whatnot. And then, I have on the agenda for this evening to also just talk about time frame. We anticipated, and my contract currently is until the end of August. I'm not sure that's going to happen. So because I do want to at least get to the point where DCR is okay with the plan. That's probably the biggest thing. You want to make sure that the state is fine with how it's presented. What I anticipate is that after the next meeting, the committee will be fine with the way that it's presented. I would suggest that it now go under a public review process where we post it on the website. And I guess also my goal, and maybe this is a comment for Cindy, is to get in front of the planning board and the Conservation Commission, because they'll need to present support letters. So the letters from the Conservation Commission and the planning board will be needed to be included with this, as well as the select board. So, it's just kind of in a review process after, the committee is good with what's been presented. Yeah.
So what's going to happen with your involvement, Ken, if it's not going to all happen by the end of August?
Well, I can figure out that.
Okay.
I think if it's a matter of communicating with the state, that I can do. I don't think that's gonna, be time consuming. The committee has the tools to explain the document and the process that you went through. And
Right.
Really that's the biggest component, is selling it to your boards, so that you can get the support letter to include in this. Obviously we assisted with the drafting, and we addressed the community engagement that we did last year, and addressed the meetings that we've been having over Zoom over the past few months. But my involvement, will be to support the committee, after August. However, it will at least get approved by the state. And if there's small refinements, I can figure out how to deal with that. But as far as probably attending meetings, if that's the case, I probably wouldn't be able to do that. And my conversations may just be with Ed on how to finish this. So that's how I imagine, the work being completed. We'll obviously have, maybe one or two more meetings. I'm thinking one, and then if we can figure out a way how to, if I'm needed in another way, to be able to identify that need before the end of August. But I definitely want to get you to the point that the state has received it, has reviewed it, and for the most part is fine with it. We'll just need to tack on, and it's probably a matter of tacking on the support letters. That will be the final component of this, and addressing the public review period that you will have gone through already.
So can you just, I'm writing down the steps. Is the first thing the posting on the public website once we finish the final draft? Is that first, number one?
That's first, and what I probably would do from there, and this is in, I've been talking to Emily, who does this more often than I do, is that, once it gets posted, I can send a draft to the state. And also provide them the current status of, it's being reviewed by the community, and it's going to be going before the Planning Board and Conservation Commission, at least as an agenda item, to have a discussion about and providing a letter of support from those meetings. And that's kind of, I think, the procedure that we should be following to ensure that the state is okay with reviewing a document that is at the moment being reviewed by the community.
Okay.
Do you have a form letter for those letters?
Yeah,
of
I'll
support?
send those.
Okay, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
And then, does this need to go and be ratified at town meeting?
I'll check on that. I don't think it does. As far as, it doesn't need to be by town meeting, but I think a letter of support from the select board is probably all you need. PVPC will be providing a letter of support as your regional planning agency. So our executive director will provide that, and we'll include that into the document. But I'll send those form letters out to you and Cindy, Brittany and Cindy, for the Planning Board and Conservation Commission.
Okay. Would you copy Ed on those two?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Ken, can you also send it to Ed, please?
Yes, I will. I will
Great.
make sure to send it to Ed.
Okay. Boy, it feels like it's getting close to done, really.
I know, and it's weird because I'm going to miss you guys after August. But I'm going to see Cindy forever. I mean, I'm in town for a
Actually,
while.
I'm trying to get him to buy the house right across the street.
I just want to say, I think you have done a fantastic job on this. It's a
Me
lot,
too.
and we couldn't have done it without you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. I feel like it has been an extension of my work in Southampton. I'm very lucky that I live in Easthampton, and I've gotten to meet, all the great committee members and some board members. So I look forward to continuing at PVPC and continuing to work with the committee in various aspects. I'm sure you haven't seen the last of me after this project.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I want to interject something here. Ken is working with the Master Plan Implementation Committee as well. And we still have one more month where we're finalizing the prioritized, the survey that will prioritize the goals from the 2013 Master Plan. He's done a fantastic job there. That's one thing to know. But the other thing is, if you haven't done that survey, please do it and tell your next door neighbors and anybody else you can think of. We got till the end of this next month, the 31st. And finally, I don't know who's flushing the toilet there, but who is that? But finally, there's some intersection of all of these things with the updated goals and strategies of the master plan. And it's an engagement of our entire community, and it's very exciting. And I also want you to know the Friends of Open Space is really moving along as well. And they are about to launch a website and a whole bunch of other information. So that's very exciting for all of us on the open space and recreation plan. So we're moving along, everybody. Did I say do the survey? Did I mention that yet? Did I mention it? Oh, I did.
Do the survey, but first watch the PSA that we did. That was fun.
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
That was a lot of fun.
Yep. And go to the town meeting, you guys. I know everybody's worked really hard on that. What's that, August 15th, Rini? Is that?
August 15th,
Yep.
9 a.m.
That's gonna be,
9 a.m. the brief field.
bring your chair.
Actually,
No,
don't.
chairs are-
Actually, don't bring your
chairs are
chair.
supplied.
Don't bring your chair?
Do
Don't
not.
bring your chair, they'll be supplied.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Bring your mask then.
Yes, absolutely.
Mask, yes.
So maybe we'll look at some future dates.
Yeah, and then also, can we go back to section 5 for a
Oh,
quick minute?
that's right, Ed, yes.
Section 5.
And I just wanted to go back to that table, which is table 5-7. And
Okay.
from some of our earlier discussions about water and what Cindy had brought up, I'm just wondering, the next to last item on that table is Holyoke Watershed Land, City of Holyoke, 2,129 acres. And that is the watershed that surrounds Ty Carmody. So I was just wondering if it would be helpful to tie all this together, to put a little asterisk below Holyoke Watershed Lands and put an asterisk and say Ty Carmody Reservoir.
Yeah, let me just share the screen and you can confirm what I do here. Let's see. So here, Holyoke Watershed Lands,
I was
asterisk.
just wondering if it'd be helpful, to note that that is the Ty Carmody Reservoir.
Well, it's Ty Carmody Reservoir, and it's also the watershed lands. There's a combination.
Yes,
And
but
and
the
it was- I think-
watershed surrounds the reservoir. So I'm just thinking, with all the conversation about Ty Carmody and everything else, if we tied the
Maybe,
two
how
together.
about includes Ty Harmony?
Yeah, there we go. That works.
Reservoir? Did I spell that right?
OIR.
Yes.
Does that work?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay,
Thanks, Ed. That's good.
Oh, you're welcome.
so future meeting dates.
Want to do the 13th, which is another Thursday?
Hold on, that's another meeting. That's the
13.
Open Space Committee meeting. We've already set that night at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Want to do the 12th?
Planning Board, and that's a big one. That's when they're going to talk about the stormwater coding.
Okay.
Or but is the 11th already taken by Select Board?
No, the select board will be the 4th and the 18th.
What
I'm
about
okay with 11 if we need to meet that. I can't meet the 10th. That's the only day I can't meet that week.
And you don't think we're going to need to have a meeting before the town meeting? You're pretty confident everything's going to be done?
Yeah, and we usually meet during the day, so.
I'm talking about the select board.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah, we might want to hold that for the select board, so. Well, do you want to roll it back to the
What
week
about the-
before and say the 6th?
I just secured a meeting for the 6th.
Okay.
And that's the town moderators meeting.
Oh, that's right too, yeah.
That's next week.
Okay.
What about the 20th?
Yeah, I was actually hoping to have another 2 weeks before the end of the month in case we needed to meet again, that's all, so.
What about doing it on the 11th, and then if in fact Select Board has to meet that night, then we just have to change this meeting?
Yeah,
Too risky?
I just assume try to schedule it for a night that everybody's available rather than an iffy night.
Can we do
Well,
it at
here's
5?
another
on the
option. Rini
So,
can't
I
meet
guess-
at 5.
Yeah, I guess we're out to the 19th or the 20th.
Well, here's another option. We could do it on the 12th, which is planning board night, but we don't meet till 7 p.m. If we want to meet at 6.
Yeah, I don't want to rush it either.
5:30?
It's okay with-
Rini can't do the 5:30, so.
Well, you can go ahead and start and I'll just join. I mean, that's the earliest I could possibly do. So if that's the only other option, I would choose probably that one.
Okay. 12th at 5:30.
Okay.
12 to 5:30.
Okay.
12th.
Got it.
5:30. Okay.
And Ed, do you want me to send invite?
Yeah, please, because I have to incorporate that into the agenda and then send that out, so.
Okay.
Please.
So, yeah, I will get to work on these refinements. They're relatively minor, and share them with the committee. And we'll meet on the 12th at 5:30.
Sounds good.
Is
Yeah.
the goal to have all the timelines filled out? Like, should we section those up so we can all work on those?
That would be helpful. I mean, I think, yeah, if you want to share them prior to the meeting, that could be helpful. I think, my suggestion at first would be to replicate what was in the previous plan and then maybe address it on the 12th should, just to see something there. And if you want to, look at how it was presented, do that. But if you want to, and if you also want to just do individual ones and you want to send me something that you think should be reflected on that, feel free to do that. The conversation then will be on the 12th. Do you think we can actually do this in 2 years? Because, we want to make sure that if there are some significant priorities that you want to attack, that those are, listed first. And maybe it's a game of priority that we're going to do. But yeah, I think what I was planning to do was just putting in the what was in the previous plan in those sections. Section or goal 5, the new goal, will need a timeline, and I feel like the committee will probably know that better than
That makes sense.
Yeah.
My daughter and husband are playing video games.
Okay. Nice. All right. Well, you know where to find me. I'm, working from home, so I'm glued to my desk here.
What's that address? Can we get that address? No, I'm joking.
You'll find me walking on Cottage Street. I take a break every now and then in the Easthampton, walking downtown.
Okay. Good. Thank you, Ken.
All right. Thank
Thank you,
you,
Ken.
everyone.
Thank you,
Guys
Ken.
have a good evening.
You
You
too.
too.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Take care. See you.
Bye.
Rainey.
Thank
Brittany.
you.
See you, Janet. Thanks, Paula.
Take care.
Thanks, Cindy.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye.